What up, man? It's your boy Vigilante Styles, and I'm here. We're going to do this is a mixing masterclass now with Harrison Mixbus 32C. Now I'm on version 6. I know they have like version 8 by now. I didn't get it because version 6 has everything I need. I don't need anything more. For me, this is perfect. But I recommend, if you don't have Harrison Mixbus 32C, you just get obviously the newest version of it. It's got some improvements, but for me, everything that I need, it's already got it right here, and you could be just fine with the version that I'm using. But of course, get the new one, man. It's got like Macintosh support and all that other stuff. Anyway, I have my headphones on for this one because I'm going to walk you through the mix as I'm going. That's why I said this is a masterclass. So we're going to go to import. You probably can't see all these things very well, but I'm importing my tracks. Now, I already have the session set to 48K because I prefer to work at 48 and 32-bit float. So I always render my tracks at FL Studio. With FL Studio, I have everything set at 48K 32-bit float. So when I render my waves and stuff, I put into a folder, and then I render my waves, and of course I have my waves set at this project sample rate and bit rate. So anyway, what we're going to do is you're going to open your folder where your tracks are, and then it's already got the first one highlighted. So go all the way down to the bottom, hold shift, highlight them all, and then hit import. Nice thing is if you have those, if you're working at the same bit rate and sample rate as your tracks, right? Importing, it doesn't have to try to resample it. Now, let's say you have like 44.1 type of tracks, it will upsample it to 48 if you have Harrison Mixbus set to 48. Why do I prefer to work at 48? Because you want just a little bit more headroom, so that your saturation is a little cleaner. Although they have anti-aliasing stuff going on in Harrison Mixbus, so you're okay there. Okay, so next thing that I do is we're going to hit auto return. Right? That's to be sure that we return to wherever we set our marker. And you can use the space bar to stop and start. Go to editor, then find the beginning of your track or wherever the hook is. That's usually where I like to do it. I believe that this one went straight into the hook, so we're just going to highlight the very beginning where the hook starts, and we're going to find the kick drum. The reason why we find the kick drum is because we want to work out the kick drum and the bass elements first. Want those isolated to be able to hear those first, and then work the rest of the drums, and then work the other instruments into that. Solo the kick. Now come back and mute all the other channels. Okay? This is just the setup right now. Go back to mixer, unsolo the kick. Now you can work one at a time. Go to Mixbus 1. Right click, rename drum. Okay, that's your drum bus. Some people bus everything. In my humble opinion, you don't need to do that. You only need to bus drums and vocals. Okay? You can choose to bus guitars if you want to, but drums and vocals usually. We don't have any vocals. This is a beat. We're just going to bus the drums. You said, well, but what about saturation on the channels? You're going to get them. It's on the master bus. So there's already saturation on the master bus. So don't worry about it, man. We're good. Okay, so now highlight your kick drum track. You want that red box around it, right? That helps you see what track you're working on. Okay, so now let's start. First thing we're going to do is we're going to apply compression. Then we're going to EQ. Everything's already set up to EQ into the compressor, right? So we don't have to worry about the flow, you know, the signal flow, just EQ into the compressor. I've told you guys in other videos why you should do that, because it helps you clean up sounds, and you're going to hear that right now. So let's go work the kick drum. Okay, so I applied a little bit more trim just to kind of pull it up a little more, and then the compressor. We're going to leave the compressor at leveler because it's a transparent compressor. It's like a LA2A, and you could literally use an LA2A on everything. So now let's turn on the low button. The low button turns this knob here on the left. Now use your mouse wheel, mind you. That's another thing I'm going to recommend when you work in Harrison Mixbus 32C. Use your mouse wheel for everything. What I mean by your mouse wheel is that middle wheel on your mouse, okay, to turn knobs. That makes it more fun too, by the way. So here, if you look right here where my cursor is, you can see that when I turn it, you can start to see frequencies, right? So pay attention to that. Right now the frequencies are at about like 2K. When you hit low, now it gives you the low frequencies, okay? Now we're going to go to 66.7 because I just like that frequency to work on the sub part of the kick drum. So here we go. So now I'm boosting it. Let's give it a little bit of mid. I don't really mess with these other frequencies too much. There's no need. They're already in good spots. 1.4, 2.8, and 5.07. And that's a high shelf, by the way. So it's a shelf at 5. These are 2 bells. They're just fine. And then of course you have a low shelf. This is a low shelf here. So it does say, however, it's not a low shelf. Okay, it looks like a bell. Wanted to see if it says anything. Well, anyway, it turns your low frequencies on here, and it shows a bell icon, but I don't believe that that is a bell curve. Should be a low shelf. But, well, let's see if I turn off low, and then if I turn off low, I turn all the way down to 300. So I don't know if this is a bell, to be honest, but 66.7 is where I want it to be. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now we're gonna hit send to the drum bus. So click drum. Now it sounds extra loud because you have you're working in parallel. You could do parallel processing this way, but the drums are going into the drum bus and straight to the master bus. So what we want to do is turn off this button here. It says MSTR, that means master. Turn that off so that only you hear the processing through the drum bus. Now we can apply more compression. You have a 3-band EQ here, which is at 300, 800, and 2K. Those are fixed. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit more because this is going to process all our drums because they're all going to go to the bus. So here I'm going to add a little bit more bass. Kind of take off the highs just a tad bit and boost the mid just 1. I'm going to leave the drive in the default position. So we're getting tape saturation on the drum bus, and it's pretty aggressive. Alright, so now we're going to work on the bass, wherever the bass is. That's actually maybe just a sample. Okay, so we'll work on the sample then, and then we'll build everything around that. So because the sample has the bass frequencies in there, we want to work on that next. Apply a little bit of compression. And let's bring it down to 80. A little bit of bass. I want to put some top on this. See how that comes in real clean? Now bring that fader down, and then we want to bring it up, and you want to listen to the bass frequencies and make sure that they're not that they're not overpowering the kick drum's sub-frequency. So actually, to ensure that, I'm going to go to filter right here, and I'm just going to turn that up with the mouse wheel to 30, and that just basically high passes everything 30 and above, so it allows all the frequencies above 30 and gets rid of anything below 30. And that's to kind of help the bass frequency not clash with the sub of the kick drum, because we do want the sub of the kick drum to pop through the mix. All right, so bear in mind the sample for this one was kind of, I don't know, crushed. So that's why you kind of already hear like a lot of aggressive compression going on it already. The name of this beat, we'll just call it what we called it in the project file, Southern Smoke 4, and then hit save. All right, so now let's go on to the snare. So here we'll highlight the snare in the editor, go back to mixer, and then we're gonna unmute it. We're gonna start working on that. So with the mouse wheel, add a tad bit of compression. I think this could be a little clearer sounding, so add a little top and a little high mid. It sounds good. Go to sends, send it to the drum bus. Turn off MSTR, and then now adjust. We're gonna bring it up until we hear the snare coming in pretty clean. All right, now let's adjust on the drum bus. Let's probably make it a little brighter there. Oh, that's a little too bright. Okay, we can bring it back to that. I gotta remember that these drums are already pretty warm. So the idea here is I'm listening to anything that's harsh, I want that gone, right? So that's one of the main things while mixing, is I do want the harshness gone, but I want it to be clean and kind of warm sounding, but I want it to be clean most of all. All right, so let's go to the editor and let's pick up the hat and let's work on the hat now. Okay. Let's add some compression. Okay, now let's boost the top. And a little high mid, just a tiny bit. Route it to the drum bus. Turn off MSTR, go back to EQ and adjust the fader. Beautiful. So we have a clap over here, so let's work on that clap. Now you might be asking yourself, why are we allowing this to go up into what is considered the red? Well, this is a K14 meter, which means that 0 is 14 decibels below actual 0. And actual 0, if it does go past that, we do have a limiter already engaged. Oh, the joys of Harrison Mixbus 32C, you already have a limiter engaged. So by all means, while you're working on this, you will not hear any clipping because it's going to hit the limiter and prevent the clipping. So isn't that cool? They already set that up for you. So anyway, but it's nice to mix into a limiter anyway, because you want to know how your mix is going to sound, have an idea at least what it will sound like when it is limited, which means that's going to happen during mastering. So you kind of want your mix, when they bring it up and they start limiting it, to kind of have a lot of similar properties to the mix that you're hearing right now. All right, so we got this clap. Let's go ahead and compress. Okay, add a little top, a little high mid. Let's take away from the low end. It's got a little bit of low in there, but add some low mid. Okay, hit send to the drum bus. Turn off MSTR. And adjust the fader. Okay, not bad. Let's go to the mini hat. Do the same thing. If you can't hear it very well when you unmute it, then just adjust the trim knob so you can hear it. Apply compression. Yeah, let's give it a little bit more so the compressor doesn't have to work so hard. Okay, you see one light, we'll go ahead and start adding some top. Okay, hit send to the drum bus, and unroute from the master bus, and adjust the fader. Okay. We have dirty tambourines. Okay, unmute this. So let's start back up. Oh, okay, it's not used much. So let's adjust some trim to hear it a little better. Okay, and now compressor. Okay, now add a little top. And high mid, a little bit more top. Okay, send center the drum bus. And then turn off MSTR. Adjust fader. Okay, good. Let's go to cleanest hat. Apparently I use a lot of hats in this beat. I don't know why. Alright, I was just saving the project. Let's go ahead and unmute this. Okay, compress. It's kind of sharp. Let's take this one down a little bit on the top and a little bit on the high mid. Okay, let's route to the drum bus, turn off MSTR, and adjust. Very good. Okay. Okay, let's get this sound in here, this lead synth. Let's go ahead and work that. Alright, add some compression. Let's add a little top, a little high mid, take away from the low, add a little low mid, just a tiny bit. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's adjust the fader. Going to quickly save this. Okay. All right, so let's work on the. There's a crash and there's like a sound effect. Let's work on the crash symbol. We're not gonna route that into a bus. We just want that to be clean. Okay, so we're gonna add some compression. Okay, take away a little bit of top. Bring it down a little bit. Sounds good. Alright, so now we're going to go to track number 4. This is the sound effect. And okay, let's add some compression to that. Just a tiny bit. And I think it should be a little brighter. So add a little bit on the top and high mid. Okay, let's readjust that. Good to me. Okay, so now on the master bus, let's probably apply some compression there. Just a little bit. A little more. Okay, let's add a little bass. Little top. Little mid. Let's go to the drum bus and just take a tiny bit of high gain off. Just take it down one notch on the bounce wheel. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. Alright, so let's take the master fader now and bring it down to, on the K14 meter, down to 0. Now you notice that now that it's not pushed into the limiter, your mix kind of sounds a little bit more open. Okay, I feel like the top is a little too bright. We're going to take that down on the master bus. We're going to take the master bus treble EQ, and we're gonna bring that down a little. Okay, that sounds natural. I usually leave the drive in the default position. Main reason why is because I kind of feel like I'm treating it kind of like the saturation on a console. You know, it's just like, well, I don't have control over that. So, you know, and that's so it really dictates how much drive is going into this, is how hot the signals are and how loud the tracks are and whatnot. But sounds like we're getting a nice, beautiful amount of saturation. Bring this master fader down just a hair. Okay. So I'm looking at the phase correlation meter that's below the K14 meter, and what I can see here is that this mix has a lot of mono compatibility. It is in stereo, but because it's all the way to the right, that shows that this actually is a very kind of narrow mix. And that's not a bad thing, because you kind of want a more narrow mix if you intend for this music to be played on a mobile device. But this mix is finished now, so we're gonna go ahead and save it. Okay, so now we're gonna export this. So save, now we're gonna go to export to audio files. Okay, and I like to drag this over here, you guys see it a little better. I'm going to change the format. Here it shows 24-bit export, BWF, 24-bit session rate. Let's open that up. You have a lot of other options like MP3, FLAC, and whatnot. But because I'm going to master this, and I don't master in Harrison Mixbus 32C, I do that in FL Studio. And I just whip out Ozone and I do it there. I prefer to only do my mixing in Harrison Mixbus 32C. So let's change it to 32 float export. So I want it to be 32-bit float. Location, I like to put it on desktop just so I can find it easy, and then I'm going to give it a name. Southern Smoke 4, and I call it mix, so I know it's my mix session. You could choose to analyze the exported audio. It's just going to analyze the loudness. I leave that off. You could put time and date on there if you want to. I don't do that, but you can. You can also go here like session name, snapshot name, whatever. We'll just go no name and I name it here. And we're going to hit export. Now, I bet you're surprised at how quick this mix was finished. Like, well, it's done. Like, that's it. Yeah, because you have all your tools in front of you. I didn't have to reach for anything. I don't really have a problem with my tracks. The whole point, too, like, I could have got some tracks from like Cambridge Multitracks, but the problem is usually those tracks are for a mixed challenge of some kind where the tracks were bad, and that's kind of a bad practice to try to fix in the mix. Usually you want your tracks to already be sounding good so that mixing, you know, is not a pain in the ass. Because you really can't fix a lot of things in the mix. I mean, you can just sweeten things and you can compress things and make them sound better. But it's, you know, when you're fixing an absolute problem, I mean, any problems that are baked into the sound, man, they're there. And it's really hard to remove them. It requires you to do some extra things that you really wouldn't have needed to do during the mix. Everything that you need to mix is already right here. The only thing that they don't give you, at least default, is a de-esser, you know? So that's where, but you can get a free de-esser from Analog Obsession. I use Loads, and I have that as my favorite plugin. So I don't have to go and open up the plugin window by double clicking in the dark area. I can just drag it, boom. Another convenient thing about mixing in Harrison Mixbus 32C, like say, for instance, if you're doing vocals, you can drag these EQs over. So you could just like, oh, I did an EQ move here and it's a vocal, so I want the exact same EQ for the next vocal track. You can just drag it and boom, all your EQ moves are done and your compressor moves are done just by dragging. I mean, that's such a huge time saver. So there you have it right there. It's done. I'm done. What? That was 11 tracks. It's done. No side chaining? Why? Why you gotta do weird shit like that, man? Don't listen to these dumbasses who tell you to mix like that, man. You don't need side chain shit unless unless you're like doing like EDM and stuff, but you can also like bake that into the sound. You know what I mean? Like you could, what I mean by baking it into the sound is you could use an LFO to mimic the ducking effect of sidechain compression, so that then you don't have to do that shit that way. It sounds better actually when it's done that way, in my opinion. And then you could just mix normal. You can mix normal. You know that everything's going to be ducked. Like if you're in FL Studio, you can go to Gross Beat, and then you can go find like one of the sidechain filters in Gross Beat, and then just boom, there you go, you're done. For EDM stuff, you know. I think trap music, drill, or any other kind of hip hop does not need sidechaining. The whole point of what sidechaining is going to do is it's going to take your bass sound, your 808 or whatever, and it's going to duck it when the kick drum comes in. The problem with that is that it makes your bass sound weaker. Instead of having, because what I prefer to have is have the intensity of that bass frequency in like your 808 or your bass line, sub bass or whatever. I want to maintain that, and I just want the kick drum to pop over it. So that just means getting your volume levels correct, making sure that that is just below your kick drum, and it also means using a filter. Get rid of your sub frequencies off of your bass line or your 808 that are clashing with your kick drum. You do want your kick drum's bass frequencies to come all the way through in order for the kick drum to punch through the mix, and then have your bass frequencies not competing for the same space. So you can go to 30, 35, or 40 on your bass frequencies just to get rid of that rumble and get rid of the bass from competing with your kick drum. And there you go. That's all you need to be doing. Think about that too. That mix I just made right there. And when you mix this way as well, you're going to find that your mixes sound better, and you're getting your mixes done faster using Harrison Mixbus 32C as your console. It's console workflow and console sound. Okay, now you can go watch videos all day long about other engineers talking bad about Harrison's plugins. Okay, but the workstation is fire. And I'm going to tell you right now, man, their plugins do not replicate the sound of the workstation of Mixbus 32C faithfully. Okay, so there's more going on under the hood in the workstation than the plugins could ever give you. So don't judge this workstation based on the plugins. Okay? And don't also assume that this workstation is an analog console. It's a console in terms of workflow, and sound wise it has console sound too, because of the DSP processing and because of the saturation. Okay, but don't expect it to be exactly one-to-one like a console, like an actual analog console is what I'm saying. It's not one-to-one of an analog console. This is a digital workstation that is laid out like a console and has console flavor, okay? But it is not exactly the Harrison 32 console. It's better, in my opinion, than the actual analog console, because you have everything that people liked about that console in here, okay? Plus things that it couldn't do at the time, that they didn't have set up on that console at the time, that they can give you in the computer. So this is a great mixing system, and it is your console. It's your in-the-box console, okay? But don't expect it to be one-for-one against the analog console exact. It's going to be similar, it's going to be close, but it's not going to be exact. And that's fine, man. It's fine. To me, the sound of this is perfect. It's not too analog sounding, and it's not too digital sounding. It's just right. use it, make great mixes, and go fucking live your life. You know what I'm saying? Go live your life, man. Don't sit in front of your computer all day and don't spend millions of years over your mixes. Just mix and be done and enjoy life. That's what this is about. If you are just that way and you want to sit there and pour over your mixes, then don't use this. If you want to feel like a pro, because pros use Pro Tools, and you don't know the reason why they're using Pro Tools, other than the fact that it was the oldest DAW in existence that had remotely the kind of functionality that modern DAWs have, and that they're integrated with a lot of their analog consoles. These studios don't want to sell their analog gear because they've had it forever, and they kind of want to use the computer as part of the system that they already have in place, as opposed to replacing what they already have. But what you have here, if you're an in-the-box mixer type of guy, is you can use this because you don't have those things. And you can get a sound that rivals what they have. And I don't give a fuck what anybody says, man. The sound from this thing rivals the gear. It sounds good, man. And you're getting an in-the-box mix that really, in my opinion, is superior to any in-the-box mix you can do. The other people that it sounds basically like you're working hybrid, and you kind of are in a way. And there's even if you were to work, with like analog gear only, and maybe just use the computer as a tape machine, well, you'll probably have, you'll get a really good sound that way too. But it's going to be similar, I think. This has analog flavor. And what I mean by that is you are getting warmth and you are taming harshness. That's kind of what the whole point is, what we'd like that. Are you getting channel tolerances? No. You're not getting channel tolerances. This is not trying to recreate all the imperfections of a console. This is giving you basically an idealized perfect console based on the concepts that console developers typically would have wanted when they were building their consoles. The whole point is like, it would be perfect to have perfect clean channels from channel to channel. It would be perfect to have no noise floor. It would be perfect. But then at the same time, engineers want warmth. Give them the saturation. That's what they want. But don't give them too much. Channel tolerances. We didn't really like that, right? But it is part of the sound of what makes the sound of a console sounds good. But that's not really what was intended. You know what I'm saying? So I get what Harrison says when they said the intended purpose. And this is basically what the intended purpose was when they created their console, was to sound very close to this workstation. And you're getting that sound, man. So be happy with your tools, man, and make it work for you. The other stuff is really insignificant, like they talk about EQ cramping and stuff like that. Once again, we don't know if the EQ inside the DAW is cramping. We know that the plugin is, but we don't even know if the same people who work on the plugin, worked on the workstation, and we don't know those differences, And even if it did, I don't really hear it at the end of the day, and it never really matters, because the best mixer in the world is using a plugin from yesteryear that cramps. So I don't know if that's even really a big deal, to be honest. If you basically, when you're turning knobs, if it doesn't sound good, then turn the knob some more until it sounds good, So I don't know, man. People be overthinking stuff. But anyway, that's the masterclass of mixing in Harrison Mixbus 32C for producers, beatmakers. And this is how you can get your sound, and you can go work on another beat now. Because once you get this workflow down, you know what I'm saying? You're just banging them out. You go into your mix session, boom, boom, boom. You're going to mix that thing about 5-10 minutes, render it, then go back to your original workstation or whatever and go master it if you want. And then it's done, and just cook it up. And you're done. And then you can go do other stuff. You turn your computer off, go get up, go walk, go have a life, go hang out with friends and stuff, go put your song or your beat or whatever on your phone and go get in the car, go jam it, go drive, go do some stuff. That's the whole point, man. Things like this make your life easy, and on top of it all, this is really fun. Because when I'm doing this with the mouse wheel, you're also kind of getting a little bit of an idea of how they say that an engineer who works on a console, it's almost like he's using it like a musical instrument. And that's kind of the same thing that you're getting here, because you're able to mix, so quickly that it's like you can work as you're feeling the music, and it's so intuitive, you know. Once you get used to this, it's so intuitive, you'll never want to go back to the old way, right? Of slapping a plug-in in and then opening it up and manipulating it and grabbing a digital EQ of some kind and messing with that. And nah. You just want to be like, dude, I miss all my knobs, bro. Just turn the knobs, move my fader, move on to the next track. Easy. Like I said, I talk more than actually working. But so now you get to see how the mix and the decisions behind the mix went, and you could hear it for yourself. And I'm sure you like the way it sounded, because I know I do. And there you go. And this is why I'm telling you guys that you can't really beat this. This is as close as you can get to quote unquote analog in the box, is working on Harrison Mixbus 32C. And what I mean by that is not just in sound, but in workflow. Because that's another reason why some people keep their analog gears, for the workflow. And when you have workflow like this, dude, unbeatable. And the sound you're getting is great. It's wonderful. People spend hours trying to get a mix like that, like we just heard. Going over different plugins, trying out different things, going, I don't know, maybe I want to slap this on here, then routing to their buses. You know how much of a pain in the ass it is to set up a bus on Pro Tools? I mean, it's not an incredible pain in the ass. If you get used to doing that in Pro Tools, it doesn't take too long, but still, there's nuances within Pro Tools that are so annoying, that are so counterintuitive. Like their master fader is the biggest piece of shit in the world, in my opinion. The master fader is like it's input gain, control. It's not, you don't have output. You have to like set that up to another bus, and fuck that, man. I'm sorry. Fuck that shit. Oh, heat, turning on Avid heat. Well, basically, in Harrison Mixbus 32C, you already have Avid heat everywhere, right? Because this thing, you have an analog style mix in the end. Come on, man. Fuck Pro Tools, guys. I'm sorry, man. I can't be working in that shit anymore. I have it just because people send me Pro Tools projects. But I also want to show you this cool little feature. I don't know if you guys can see it, because I know like part of my left side of my window is not visible. But under import, I have import Pro Tools session. What? Oh no. Told you this is the Pro Tools killer, guys. You could import a Pro Tools session, but I'm on version 6, so the Pro Tools sessions that I can import are anything below 10. Above Pro Tools 10, then it won't import it. But anything below 10, I can import on version 6. On version 8, I'm guessing you guys can probably import all Pro Tools sessions. That's what I'm guessing, like basically all the way up to the current version right now. So that's another thing. That could probably get me to upgrade to 8 right there and then. But I don't get enough Pro Tools sessions to justify the upgrade yet. I mean, I have Pro Tools, but yes, it is a pain in the ass to go and open up Pro Tools, and just because they sent me a Pro Tools session and then go render the WAV files, basically bake all the tracks and then go render the WAV files and then import it into Harrison Mixbus 32C to mix it. But it's a minor inconvenience for me. But yeah, if they send me anything from before Pro Tools 10, man, I can open that bad boy up right in the Harrison Mixbus 32C, and it just opens up like a beautiful Christmas present, man. I'm just telling you. Anyway, it's your boy Vigilante Styles, man. If you guys enjoy my videos, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And if you enjoy these masterclasses, man, please tell me that you do, and I will continue to break down more mixes. I mix everything, dude, because I don't make everything, but I mix everything. I do predominantly, my style of music is hip hop and R&B, which also includes like trap and drill and all this other stuff, but I don't really like trap and drill too much. But I occasionally make it. And if I'm telling you that this system works for that style of music, it does. Okay, guaranteed. But you can mix anything with this. This is a console in the box. And if you had a console sitting in front of you, would you be like, I'm not using this because I'm making trap music? No. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna mix on this because this is my mixing console. So, but also I have videos too where I'm mixing like, you know, rock, metal, you name it. You know, I haven't done country yet. Maybe I'm not. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, man. Country ain't my flavor, you know what I'm saying? I have a hard time listening to that shit as it is. But that's just me personally, because I come from an urban music background, right? I'm not really into country music. I just don't feel that stuff, and it's one of my least favorite genres. But I'm not gonna say that it's terrible music, because a lot of people love it. And let's be honest here, Harrison Consoles comes from Nashville, Tennessee, right? So probably when they had this in mind, it was more than likely it was going to be for all people who make music of all genres, but predominantly, probably their clientele is probably predominantly in the country music business. And let's be honest here, I will give country music one thing: their sound quality is always impeccable. Like, it is probably one of the best mixed genres of music in existence. So they really have an ear for quality in that style of music. So, you know, it just makes sense, you know, for me to use their stuff, because I like quality too, but for the music that I do. So anyway, I'm going to go do other things, guys, because I'm already done, man. Like, just been sitting here talking to you guys like I always do for like 2/3 of the video, and actually working on music for 1/3 of the video. But like I said, if you enjoy my videos, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It's your boy Vigilante Styles, man. And until we meet again, take care of yourselves, and I'm out. Peace.